By law. Wisconsin Congressman Sean Duffy is a Republican on the Financial Services Committee and joins us this morning. Congressman, thank you for being here.
Good morning, Rick.
So what can we expect on health care?
So I think a couple things. Number one, we have to recognize that the Senate failed to repeal Obamacare and replace it when John McCain famously came out and gave his thumbs down vote. We now have Democrats who realize that Obamacare is failing, so they're pushing towards a government-run or bureaucratic-run socialized medicine. So the fight is on, do we go socialized medicine or do we actually let markets work, Rick? And so I think what the president's trying to do is multiple fold. So number one, we have countries, Canada, Germany, France, others, that price fix American innovative drugs. So if we're going to negotiate trade, let's make sure that they don't subsidize the cost of drugs in their countries, sticking American patients with the full boat of recouping the cost of development.
Well, the president spoke yesterday.
Freeloading.
Congressman, the president spoke yesterday about drug prices, and I want to play that and get you to react to this.
Sure.
I think we're going to have some of the big drug companies in 2 weeks, and they're going to announce, because of what we did, they're going to announce voluntary, massive drops in prices.
I know you feel very strongly about price controls.
Yeah, and so the specifics of what the president's talking about here, I'm not sure, but I know this is part of it. And that is, if we get them to pay their fair share and stop freeloading, then the drug companies can lower prices for the American patient, which is what we want. So that's part of it. I think association healthcare, which I think that your viewers need to know, that's allowing people to pool together of like mind or like industry, and you improve your buying power, you improve your leverage, and you get lower prices.
How much cooperation does the president need from drug companies to make this happen?
Well, I think when you bring the drug companies in, and I've talked to them as well, and they said, listen, if you get other countries around the world to start paying their fair share, we no doubt will lower our prices in America. They've made that commitment. I've heard them say it privately, and I think they'll say it publicly. But again, this is about patients and driving down the cost of their care. And he's also going to open up waivers, I think, for our state. So in a place like Wisconsin, where we had health care that actually worked, we had affordable health care, we had a high-risk pool that helped take care of those with pre-existing conditions. If we let Scott Walker innovate in Wisconsin to take care of the Wisconsin patients, drive down prices in health care, I think we're going to be better off. And what might work in Wisconsin might be different in California or New York or Florida. But let's let these states innovate, give them more power and control to meet the needs of their populations. That's, I think, the vision of the president on how you empower people and families and doctors to make these decisions, as opposed to bureaucrats in government in regard to health care decisions.
Congressman, I want to get to another topic, the China tariffs announcement. I thought that they'd have worked this out already, but now it sounds like it's going to happen again.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused like you are, Rick, but here's what's going on the backside. We were hoping that China would take some good faith efforts to reduce some of their barriers, to make commitments in regard to the stealing of intellectual property. They haven't gone far enough, and so I think the president's going to keep the steel and aluminum tariffs on the table. But if we don't deal with China today, just think, can we deal with the unfair trade imbalance that we have with them, and the fact that they steal our intellectual property, that they put up barriers to our American-produced goods, and we open up our whole market to them? Can we deal with them 10 years from now when their economy is that much bigger, or their military is that much stronger? If we're going to deal with China and their unfair practices, we have to deal with them today. And so President Trump is right to say, I'm going to push this, and it's a fine dance that I'm doing, but I'm not going to let the American manufacturer or consumer get run over by China any longer.
Well, Congressman, the Dow is down more than 200 points this morning. I don't know if it's because of this other announcement about tariffs that the U.S. is moving ahead with tariffs on aluminum and steel imports from Canada, Mexico, and the European Union.
Well, I think it all flows back to Chinese dumping, and it's hard to separate China from Canada and Europe. And by the way, we don't have a deal yet with China in regard to, with Canada in regard to NAFTA. But again, Rick, what happens is the markets are looking very short-term in regard to what impact these tariffs might have on this quarter's earnings. I think the president has to have a long view, a really long view on how is America going to be positioned in the next 5, 10, 20, 50 years from now. And that means having free and fair trade. And again, now is the time to negotiate, and you can't let markets spook you or a few threats from China spook you from making sure that the world is a free and fair place to trade in, and it's not that now.
Something to keep an eye on. Congressman Sean Duffy, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.